I use the Brave framework, and the Brave framework was actually created by Doctors Ruggs and Avery, and they created this framework to have these hard conversations in the workplace. So the Brave framework is an acronym, and the B stands for build. So the first thing you want to do is build intentionality and focus. Okay, so you can have these honest conversations. So when you do that, you provide I call them community engagement guidelines. Here are the engagement guidelines that we, should abide by. Does everybody agree that we should respect each other, that we should keep what's said in here in this room, right? Be able to challenge the idea and don't challenge the person, right? So being able to, identify those community engagement guidelines is going to help individuals build that intentionality and that focus, okay? And then after we do that, we will also then want to figure out how can we respect, and that's the R for the Brave acronym. So we need to be able to respect the sensitivity of the topic that's being discussed, recognizing that, for instance, race, politics, religious background, et cetera, those are really tough, right, conversations to have sometimes. So we need to be able to respect the differences of others in the room. Once we're able to do that, then we acknowledge, okay, the discomfort within the room. Okay, so recognize that it's kind of hard to sometimes acknowledge the uncomfortable realities of those who identify as historically marginalized and what they went through, right, and what they currently go through. Right, sometimes it's very uncomfortable, but we have to acknowledge that as well. So typically, I try to just put that out there and acknowledge that this is going to be challenging and uncomfortable for some, but discomfort actually leads to growth. When I go to the gym and work out, and I lift that dumbbell, and my arm is kind of uncomfortable. I'm kind of burning, right? But I know that over time, when I do it over and over and over again, I build those muscles, right? And it becomes more comfortable and I grow that way. So we want to acknowledge that. And then the next acronym, the next letter would be V, validate, all right? So we want to be able to validate the experience of historically marginalized groups, right? Even though I may not identify as a woman, right, I need to empathize with them and say, recognize that, hey, I don't really know how exactly that experience feels, but that can be kind of hard, right? To feel that you can't be your authentic self within the workplace if you work with all men, for instance, right? So being able to validate the experiences of others. And lastly, emphasize how your company is prioritizing diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. Okay, so we want to walk away with emphasizing this is important. Okay, we need to continue to build upon this momentum. How are we going to track progress? What are our metrics, right? And how can we continue to have these conversations, these effective, productive conversations in the workplace, right? So that has to be really emphasized as well at the end.